Look, I get it. If you're a parent like I am, you love your kid. But please, for the love of Pete, wherever you are, Pete, just don't be an entitled parent. I'm Vince, and I got a couple of kids, 2.5 and under, and I love them to death, but I hope I'm never like this at all. Andy is doing today's episode. I will be introing it for him from r/EntitledParents. User Cole the GSD. Entitled mother gets mad when I won't let her kid say hi to my dog.
A quick disclaimer. My dog used to be an owner-trained SDIT, service dog in training. Currently, this is under review as I'm questioning washing him. So I'll be saying was in referring to him as a working dog for now. Colton is my 100-pound, 1-year-old GSD, and I've had quite a few incidents involving entitled parents pawning their child or children off my dog without permission, in and out of vest. But there is one incident in particular that definitely takes the cake as the worst entitled mother I have ever met. At the time of this incident, Cole was probably around 9 months. I was at a local pet-friendly park to go over public training with Cole. I go to this particular park quite often and had never run into any problems until this point. This is probably where I should mention why I have an SDIT. I had Cole for multiple reasons, but the main reason was for my anxiety. I am prone to severe panic attacks that can hinder my ability to go about life as normal, and Cole was task-trained to help with this. During my park trip, things started off relatively normally. I was going over basic commands with Cole, but after a while the park started getting unusually busy for the times I go, and I started feeling slightly overwhelmed. I contemplated leaving, but considering I hadn't even gotten halfway through the training session, I moved further away from the larger crowds, near the jungle gym part of the park, to a quieter, shadier area. After going through the basics a while longer, I moved on to DPT training. For those who don't know, DPT stands for Deep Pressure Therapy. It's a technique used to ground anxiety patients. Essentially, I lay on the ground and my dog lays over the top of me, think weighted blanket. Relaxing slightly, I decided to close my eyes. 2 minutes later though, I hear kids running around me and open my eyes to a group of 4 to 5 young kids playing tag. No big deal, I thought, so I closed my eyes and ignored them. Literally, moments later though, I feel Cole moving on top of me, and then he all but jerks to the side. I opened my eyes to see the group of kids that were playing tag now standing and sitting around me, petting and pulling Cole's harness. How I didn't notice sooner is beyond me, but nonetheless, I was mad. For like 2 seconds, until I reminded myself that these were kids and decided I'd use this moment as a teaching lesson. Excuse me, please don't pet my dog, I said politely. Why not? He's just laying down. Well, you have to ask people before petting their dog. They may not be friendly, or they could be nervous around people. You see, my dog's working. This vest he wears, it says do not pet, because he's doing a very important job right now and can't be distracted. It's for my safety. The kids ask a few more questions, which I answer to the best of my abilities, and then they apologize and walk away. I was happy with myself. I'd managed my anxiety and handled a situation pretty well. I also managed to teach these kids some important manners about meeting dogs and SDs. I was content, so I closed my eyes again and laid back, assuming the situation was over. I was poorly mistaken. I just want to say now that I don't blame the kids for what's about to happen. A good amount of time later, I hear someone's footsteps heading in my direction, allowing me to know someone was walking up to me. But not just walking up to me, they were stomping up to me. And then I hear someone obnoxiously clearing their throat. I open my eyes to see this middle-aged woman with her hands on her hips glaring at me. Excuse me, This woman sounded very annoyed and impatient. Now, another thing you all should know about my anxiety is I'm not so good at confrontation. Not at all. Is there something wrong, ma'am? I asked politely, attempting to stay calm. Yes, something is wrong, she sassed. Did you tell my child and their friends that they can't pet your dog? I don't know who your kid is, but yes, I did ask a group of kids earlier to not pet my dog. Why? Aha! Well, that was my kid, and I just want to know why you think you have the right to parent my kid and their friends and tell them what they can and cannot do. Excuse me? I was stuttering and utterly confused. Now, my people skills aren't great. My social skills lack a lot. And my anxiety makes communication and confrontation really hard. I know these things and accept them. I fully understand that I may not pick up on every social cue and can be overly sensitive at times. But even without my anxiety, you have to keep in mind that I am a minor who's laying on the ground, with a gross-ass woman literally standing over the top of me. The situation wasn't great. You heard me, she shouted. Are you stupid or something? For your information, the word she used wasn't stupid. I swear, I was shocked. I couldn't believe an adult actually said that out loud, and to a child nonetheless. I could feel my anxiety rising by the millisecond, and Cole was positioning himself further on top of me to keep me from shaking like a leaf. I didn't respond right away, and it took me a moment to gather myself. Ma'am, my dog is a service dog. He literally has patches on him that say "Do not pet." Your kid's distracting him can put my life at risk. He's not here for entertainment. I was cut off by, you guessed it, entitled mother. That doesn't matter. You're probably just faking it for attention, and besides, your dog's just laying there. He's not doing anything. So my kid and their friends should be allowed to say hi. At this point, I'm on the verge of tears, and I'm gripping Cole's harness for dear life. I'm at the point where I can no longer formulate words or keep my thoughts straight. I knew I was about to have a panic attack because I was a mess. Luckily though, the commotion seemed to have attracted other people, specifically adults who came over to help. I don't remember much, just people talking to EM loudly and her stomping away with her child, I presume. And some adults crouched beside me asking if I was okay. I managed to convince the adults I was fine, and I called my parents to pick me up. I explained the situation, and they were pissed, rightfully so, and even considered filing a report, but I was against it. I never saw the mum or kid again, but I did see some of their friends on a walk past the park. They all apologised to me, and said all they told their parents was how nice I was being, and explaining everything they learned about SDs. Entitled mother just took it way out of hand. But it's okay. It's almost been a year since this happened, and I'm over it. I actually find it pretty humorous, and laugh at how crazy EM was now. Glad I never had to run into her again, though. Our next story is from Calfjoy. EM tries to force me to leave the park because she's convinced my little sister is actually my daughter. There's a 10.5-year age gap between me and my little sister. When I was a teen, I often used to take her out to the local park to give my mum a break, or give her time to get some housework done, etc. At the time this story happened, I was 15. It was Wimbledon season, so my mum asked me to take my sister to the park for a few hours so she could watch it in peace. She gave me some money so we could get some fish and chips in town and some ice cream at the park. There was usually an ice cream van there. So we got some fish and chips, went to the beach for a bit to buy mum extra time, and then we headed to the park. As we approached the gate, this entitled mother who was dragging along her child glared at me. "You should be ashamed." I looked round, but there was nobody else she could have been talking to. Dumbfounded, I blankly pointed at myself, as if to affirm she was talking to me. "Girls these days, they're such sluts, opening their legs to anyone who asks. Who got you knocked up? Oh, let me guess, you don't know? I stared blankly at her for a minute. This is my little sister. Entitled Mother rolled her eyes and leered at me. Yes, we had little sisters in my day too. Okay, bye. And I just walked away because I was uncomfortable with conflict and just wanted to get out of that situation. Don't you dare go into the park. You'll spread your filthy diseases all over the place. I don't want my son catching your diseases. I ignored her and rushed into the park. Surely she'd leave me alone when I was surrounded by other kids and parents, right? Wrong. Entitled Mother followed me around the park, demanding that I leave. The more I ignored her, the madder she got, and she kept repeating over and over, get out, you're not allowed in here." At this point, a few parents noticed. One mum, let's call her Friendly Mum, who my mum and I often chatted with, immediately stood and rushed over as the EM grabbed my arm and yanked at me. Why are you grabbing a child? Let her go, who are you? Mind your fucking business. Let her go, or I'm calling the police. Entitled Mother let me go, but turned her anger towards Friendly Mum, shouting that she's just making the park safe for her child, and I shouldn't be here because I might spread some nasty disease all over the place. She never specified what disease. I'm guessing she meant an STI or something. More parents started coming over to see what was going on. Seeing she was outnumbered, Entitled Mother left, dragging her child behind her, screaming obscenities at us as she slinked away. Friendly Mum gave us a lift home, made sure we were safe. When I told my mum what happened, she was furious. She packed us into the car and drove around town looking for the woman, but we didn't spot her. Thankfully, I never saw that woman again. The next one's blank. The pains of giving someone a free ticket. So this just happened yesterday. So this Saturday I have 2 tickets to go to StarCast, a wrestling convention. My brother ended up getting COVID and can't go. With my brother out of action, I decided to ask my cousin's son, who I think of like a nephew, if he wanted the extra ticket. He seemed super stoked to meet Ric Flair and Bret Hart, both of whom I have wholeheartedly wanted to meet and get their autographs and pictures with. My nephew excitedly says he has nothing planned that day and would love to go. Later, I get a message from him that his dad wants to talk to me beforehand. Beforehand, I should mention now, my nephew is 16 years old and has a license and a car. I found out that my nephew will not be allowed to go unless his father goes with him, which I find weird, but hey, whatever, not my kid, not my rules. I really don't want to talk to my cousin, to be honest. To be blunt, he's an arsehole. To a degree that I can no longer tell people I'm related to him without getting weird looks. I'm pretty sure he's undiagnosed bipolar, a mental illness his father suffered from. Anyways, I thoroughly messaged my cousin the dates of the event, where it's going to be and how long it is open, how to buy tickets for himself, how much they cost, etc. He then proceeds to ask me to buy him a ticket, and that he will pay me back tomorrow. Now, my cousin is the type of cheap bastard who will go to dinner and pretend to have forgotten his wallet. He'll also bug the staff to give him free stuff when he recognizes a student that he's taught. It is embarrassing how much someone can belittle themselves for a free bowl of chili. Knowing this, I have no intention of buying this prick a ticket and waiting to see if he'll actually pay me. He could also very easily change his mind, and I'd be stuck with another ticket I don't need. Keeping it civil, I tell him that he can just buy a ticket at the door. I even messaged the event staff and asked if they would be selling tickets at the door to make sure he wouldn't be shit out of luck. Next, my cousin asks me how I already got my tickets. I tell him I bought them online. Further, he asks me if this is still an option, which I tell him it is. So he replies, "Pick me up a ticket and I'll leave the money with your mum." I let that text sit for a couple of hours, thinking of ways to politely tell him I'm not buying him a ticket. which I end up making the excuse that my money's tied up and I can't purchase him one right now. Later that night, he sends me a message saying, "With all we have going on that day, I've tried to compromise and work it out, but it shouldn't be this hard. Count us out on this one. It would be best in future if in big events like this you were to ask us first if we have anything going on as a family so I don't have to disappoint my kid. With this one, I had to disappoint him twice." I simply reply, if a man in his 40s can't figure out how to buy a ticket online by now, then he has more pressing problems. I'm not your mum. I'm not going to buy you a ticket. Then I put my phone on silent and stopped arguing with him. He left more messages that I never replied to, and to be honest, I think I'm done with him. My brother has already cut him out of his life. My cousin said, "Knowing and being willing to put my information out there are two different things. I tried and my son knows. Second, I said not to upset my kids, then you turned disrespectful. I'm not getting into the point of paying for tickets out of respect. My son has a scrimmage if you'd like to see him." So because I wouldn't supply an asshole a second ticket, I have disappointed a kid, even though he could have bought them at the door or used a prepaid Visa card or something. In the end, I feel bad about my nephew for missing out because he ended up with an entitled dad who would rather torpedo a fun trip to put forth any effort. My cousin's already telling family members that I was the aggressor and uncompromising. I forgot to bring my wallet. Well, guess who's washing up then? Our next one is from Defunct Mal 5. Yikes, Mildred. Guess your son will never walk again. Today I bring you another emergency room tale. In today's story, a man in his 50s, let's call him Wilbur, is brought in, clearly in pain. He is accompanied by his mother, Mildred, mid-70s. Upon questioning, he tells us he fell on his butt, essentially, and he has intense pain that resembles electricity going down his right leg. A clear indication of a herniated intervertebral disc. We do an MRI, and sure enough, a disc is compressing his spinal cord. He also has a vertebral fracture, which, while not compromising anything currently, seems so busted it appears to be keeping itself together through the magical powers of sweat, sticky tape, bubblegum, and, well, intentioned vibes. So it must be treated ASAP before it compromises the spinal cord too. By this point, the neurosurgeon is already talking to the lad and Mildred, making a convincing case for what he considers the best option: surgery. Mildred isn't pleased by such an outrageous and radical solution, which she claims we are suggesting in order to get richer quick, because surgery isn't the answer to everything, you see. She then looks at Wilbur with furious eyes, more piercing than a fencing foil, and asks him, "What do you think, sweetie? Are you going to let these abusive monsters rip you off like this?" Wilbur, sad and reluctant, said defeated, Well, no, but..." At this point, Mildred interrupts him, and with a triumphant and devilish sneer exclaims, "See, you want a second opinion? We're leaving!" We tried to reason with them, but all attempts were futile. They signed a document that certifies they leave on their own free will, no medical discharge, and left. I felt really sorry for the lad. He seemed to genuinely want to consider the options we could provide, but for whatever reason, his mother seemed to reign over all aspects of decision-making. Wilbur returned about 5 days later in an ambulance, now with a much more frantic Mildred who was issuing instructions left and right, all accompanied by an accusatory finger and flailing limbs. Something had put her on a Karen Crimson frenzy, and she was out for blood. We began our usual questions, and what we found out was terrifying. Apparently, Mildred took Wilbur to a chiropractor who went on to do a cracking job on his spine to fix it, and after an audible crunch, Wilbur could no longer move and feel his legs, which prompted a race back to the emergency room. Unfortunately, the damage to Wilbur's spinal cord meant there was nothing that could be done to recover his legs. Wilbur was sadly sentenced to a wheelchair for the rest of his life, and he will never again feel his feet touching grass, sand, or the waves of the sea.
So thanks for being with us. The RR Show is a production of Evergreen Podcasts and Wessler Media. Now, if you'd be so kind, please follow or subscribe to our show wherever you get your podcasts. And if you're feeling extra nice, you might as well leave a 5-star review. But for more, visit the website, rrshow.com. That is rrshow.com. I'm your host, Vince. Thank you to my producer, Kevin, and we'll see you next time here on The RR Show.